everybody. Welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. Today we are talking to Marni Jameson about her book, Downsizing the Blended Home, which is part of three books that she had, Downsizing the Family Home and the Downsize the Family Home Workbook. And we were just talking about Marnie's own experience and advice in the first section about how you actually, Marnie just got remarried. Congratulations, by the way. I know it's been a couple years, but how she and her husband negotiated where to live, and then which house to live in, and as well as some other expert advice on blending homes. So in this section, I wanted to talk about letting go. Specifically, you have that as you said in the first section, you have two blenders, two dining room tables, two couches. How do you decide which one to keep, and then, as you said before, and do so in a way that's aesthetically pleasing
and fair.
and
Yeah,
fair?
it's really the heart of the book. And what I first realized is one house plus one house needs to equal one house.
Right.
So if you do the math, you each have to get rid of half a house. It's a
Right.
lot of letting go. And we work hard for our things and we buy things we love and we get attached and our heels dig in a little bit. And there's no one had written about this. There's a lot of
Right.
talking about blending couples and blending families, but blending furnishings, that was like a new frontier. So I had just finished downsizing my parents' house when they moved into assisted living. And I know how painful it is to get rid of things that you've grown up with or your parents valued, and how to dispose of those things in a fair way and keep the legacy and the history. And man, right in the heels of that, I did it on my own. I had to do it with my own new marriage and new life and new lifestyle. And I was just learning as I went and sharing the advice with my readers in my column. And then I got my takeaways together, and I'm just like one step ahead of you. I mean, I'm really not that far ahead, but I have the ability to interview experts and bring in wisdom and experiences from other people and ask, how did you do this? And came away with some fair ways to do it. And I can give you some great tips.
Yeah, give us some tips about okay, so two dining room tables. There's some psychological issues. It's not just the dining room table. It's like which one looks prettier. There's all sorts of at least for our family, the dining room table is where we congregate from the family, and there's like a bajillion memories associated with that dining room table. So it's more than just a dining room table. So how did you decide which dining room table to pick?
It's all have a whole chapter on that, but it's everything you said. I wanted mine, all the memories. I have two children. He has three children. We both had tables, and we wanted our kids to feel comfortable when they came. It was all that, and of course, I liked mine more, and he liked his more. And I go through a lot of things you can do. We didn't do these, but I'll tell you what we did do. But you can use both of them. Maybe one's a good desk. Maybe one becomes a kitchen table. Maybe one becomes an outdoor table. Maybe you use the chairs from one and the table from another. Maybe you sell both of them and buy something together. There are a whole lot of ways. So I go through all of these. It's none of those is what we did. So I was staging a home. As I mentioned before, I was a live-in home stager. I would go into other people's homes that were challenged. They were high-end properties, but they were having trouble selling, mostly because they weren't decorated well. I would decorate them with my furnishings, then they would sell, and I'd move to the next house. I was in one of these situations, and everything looked really nice. And so I told my husband, my fiance at the time, I'll tell you what, and he was selling his house because we were moving into a house together. The people who buy your house, tell your realtor that your furniture is also for sale, including the dining room table. And I'll tell the people that are buying the house that I'm staging, which went under contract, the dining room set is available. If you like it in the room, you can buy it. And we left it up to fate. And you know what, the buyers of his house wanted his dining room table, the hutch, the whole 9 yards, and the whole set of he had a whole dining room set. And the folks in my place didn't want it, so mine won by default. So but he felt good that people were going to enjoy that furniture. They appreciated it. They wanted it wasn't just going to end up in the curb or at a junk store. So that is how we reconciled it. But I owed him.
Oh, you did? Okay, so how did that come out in the equation? Because there's other things like that couch. That's like probably the next thing that I would be like, rolling up my sleeves and like, okay, whose couch is it? What was the next item of dispute?
So I think artwork was a big one for us. I love landscape oil paintings, and he likes very modern abstract art.
Yeah.
He literally likes an artist that I can't say this without trying to without laughing, but I don't mean to. It's like spray painted aluminum, aircraft
Oh,
aluminum,
yes, I've seen that. Yep.
really expensive. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a hologram. And anyway, he likes that. I know. But so we had to figure out. So we gave each other, like, he gets the whole family room. All of his airplane metal art goes in our family room. And in the entryway and the living room is the landscape oils. It works out. And we tie things together. We bridge with color. I have a whole chapter on color as unifier. You can make a lot of disparate things go together if the underlying background colors are working and pulling the color through. So
Hmm.
there's ways of bridging. Um, so artwork was a tricky one. One of the things that I think is helpful, and I did this with my parents' house. You can't save everything, right? So in downsizing the family home, I mean, all of the things at my parents' house, some of the things were so precious. I choose like five things. Pick five.
Mm-hmm.
You can change the number if you want to, but maybe it's my dad's cigar box and my mother's pearls, and five things that maybe a piece of art that really connect you, and everything else you let go. And we tried to do the same thing with our household furnishings. We walked around and said, okay, what would it break your heart to lose?
Hmm.
And for him, first thing he bought when he finished law school was a roll top oak desk. He
Oh,
thought
yeah,
it
I
was
like those.
was not my favorite piece of furniture, but it was important to him, and
Right.
it weighs a ton.
Yes.
So he had a few pieces that were really important to him, and I had some that were really important to me. You pick five, like, okay, they're going to work. We're going to make these work no matter what else we keep. And then everything else you try to make neutral. It's agnostic. You put it out on the lawn and you shop your stuff, literally shop your stuff for what actually works in the house. And I have a few more secrets like that, but that's sort of the basics. Like,
Hmm.
get the big pieces that you really have to have, that really mean a lot to you. Let go of the other things, because when everything's important, nothing's important.
Right.
Right.
Right. And then I love how you just put it on Lauren, like, oh, this would look good here. And then, whether it was his thing or your thing, you were neutrally trying to figure out what would go well,
In your
basically.
style. Yeah. Yeah. It becomes a neutral. You really, and don't keep score. Like, well, we have five of your paintings and only three of mine. So don't keep score. Once
Right.
it's neutral, it's neutral.
Got it. Okay, got it. And then how did you like when you have a little pile on your yard of all the things that were his and yours that weren't in the top five picks. Then was it just about like, well, this looks better with the shape and like, how did you pick which things fit in where?
So the lawn is a little bit of a metaphor, but first thing is really pare down the houses that you're moving out of. Do a bunch of downsizing before you even get to the lawn stage, which again isn't meant necessarily
Right.
literal, but
Yeah.
and then I did a lot of work on paper. I would have a floor plan,
Hmm.
and I would say, okay, I think your sofas look good here and my sofas look good here. What do you think? And then we also had room. Here's the other little secret is I talked about losing half a house each. You really have to lose a little more because you need to buy some things together.
Mm,
Like, one of the first things we purchased was a new bed. We
mm,
didn't want to bring a bedroom from a previous relationship into a new marriage.
that makes
So
sense. Yeah.
you lose some of those things, and maybe neither sofa works.
Mm,
So you have to make a little room for something that's ours, that we're
right.
bringing it together. So pare down as much as you can before you move. And here's another trick. Size doesn't matter in furniture. So, or furniture, household belongings. So my furniture won more rounds than his, frankly. It was a little bit better made, maybe it started working. I knew how to work with it, but all the other stuff, the sheets, the the cookware, the cutlery, the dishes, the coasters, the glasses, the barware, he had it way over me. His house was way better stocked than mine. I was
Mm,
a Girl Scout with a camp stove,
right.
and he had these fancy knives and this fabulous Tupperware, and So, and and the things that you touch every day and that you work with every day, they really matter.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
and
So it actually worked out. It looks like it seemed like it worked out seamlessly for you guys because aside from the artwork and the dining room table, you were able to. So if you don't par your house in half, what is it that you're really doing? That are you doing it like 75% of like all your stuff? You just before you even moved in together, you had to like kind of make a cut. Like, and how did you make that cut? What did you? What were your criteria?
I had already moved out of a home that I had shared with my first husband, and he had taken things to a loft, and he was having it, furnishing his own place. I sold a bunch of stuff to the people that bought the house, and I only took what I really needed to stage. I was pretty pared down. Plus, in 4 years, I moved 6 times. CJ, if you want to downsize, move a bunch of times. And every time I get a box, I don't want to see these dishes again. I was pared down to the bone. He had lived in the same house for 17 years with 3 kids and his late wife and hadn't thrown out a thing. So I needed to lose a little less than he did. He needed to
Right.
go through a lot more. So I think you kind of have to look at where you are, and I wouldn't call him a hoarder, but compared to me, who was really, really streamlined
Yeah.
down, I
After
had,
you've done six, I've done three moves in succession over a course of a year, and you get, and actually, it was during our third move that my husband's like, "What is this yellow pencil case? Why? Why are we putting this even in a box?" And I was like, "You know what? I've had that since high school, and it reminds me of high school." And he's like, "Are you using this anymore?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Is this an important memory?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Put this away. Stop moving it." But I totally get it. I mean, after you move the third time and you've hauled and had to put back something, you're like, I'm being pretty hardcore. So you're pretty downsized already. So
yeah.
then, and then you picked five. I love that. And then how did the kids weigh in? If you have, I know you both had a collective of 5 kids. Did they get a say in your blended house, or um, what happens with if like your kids? It sounds like they may be older. Are your kids all moving into the same house or not? And how to? Okay,
Yeah, so mine were the younger two, and they were still in college. They are still in college. I don't think they'll ever get out of college. That's another story. And his were moved on, married, and into the careers. And we were in 4 states. They're not even in. One of them is a couple hours away in Florida, but we have Texas, Tennessee, Arizona. They're around a long way. So in college, but the youngest one I felt when we got married, she was about 20, and I felt it was important that she had some mooring, that she had some mooring. The others didn't need it as much, so there's guest rooms for all of them. Not all of them, but we could actually accommodate everyone if they came, and that was important to me because I wanted to be the matriarch.
right.
I wanted to be. I needed to be. I couldn't just be that empty nester and y'all fend for yourself. I wanted a place where the kids could come. So we do have now. It gets a little crowded if everyone's there, but we can make it work. And
Right.
I like that a lot. And I like that they know that they can come and stay with us and nobody's going to be in a hotel.
Right.
So that matters to me.
Yeah. So then how did your daughter get to play in, or did she, and like in your case it sounds like your kids are older, but what happens when you have a blended home when kids are on the younger side, where they're all of a sudden, they're also having to part with their couch and dad's artwork, and how do you manage, how much do kids get in the mix with this?
I think it's important to ask them what's important to them and what they would like to see in their moving forward, what they want to cling on to. And if it's their bed or their toy box or their stuffed animal collection, their bookcase, whatever it is, ask them what's important to them and talk to them about, well, how do you see it? Here's the room I have in mind for you. Where do you think we should put the bed? Where do you think we should put this? And have them have a say in the artwork and their world. It is really important
So
to make them.
they kind of pick their five that's in their room. Yeah, got it.
And if you're going to remodel or get them, help get them involved with picking their own new bedding. If they want a new comforter or something like that, help them, let them have a say.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just like you were able to get new things in your new environment, they also get some new things in their new beginnings of a new home. I like it.
A little
That's
bit
really
of the
sweet.
past, but also moving forward.
Yeah, love it. Okay, we've been talking to Marni Jameson about downsizing your home and specifically how do you figure out what what to let go of and what to keep, which is Sounds like it would be simple, but it's not so simple, especially when you have a lot of memories and a lot of stuff that you get over the course of, especially when you get married and later in life. So, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.